Another day closer to Ohio State versus Tennessee in the first round of the college football playoff. Defensive media day for the college football playoff is upon us. Tim May, the 41-year vet, Spencer Holbrook. We just heard from Jim Knowles, some defensive players, and then Emeka Egbuka, since he couldn't make it yesterday, he talked today. For what it's worth, today's show is brought to you by 5-Star Fans. The thrill, the heartbreak, the pride. Being a fan is a wild ride. With 5-Star Fans, you can finally get in the game like never before. 5-Star Fans is the place where fiercely loyal fans can directly reward their favorite players. For a limited time, 5-Star Fans is giving you, the fan, $5 to give to your favorite player at 5-starfans.com. That's right, 5-starfans.com. Go right now, sign up. You get $5 to give to your favorite player. It's an NIL thing. It helps Ohio State athletics. It helps these players. Go to 5-starfans.com right now. Sign up. You can give $5 to your favorite player. Tim.
Remember, Christmas is right around the corner.
Yeah, you can give $5 to Emeka Egbuka, who we just heard from, or maybe Sonny Styles, who we just heard from. I don't think you can give it to the coaching staff. Jim Knowles probably doesn't need it because he makes $2 million a year.
Well, if you're looking around the country, coaching staffs are jumping in there now too, so we'll see where that goes.
We just talked to Jim Knowles today. Talked about not playing well enough in the Michigan game to win. He was almost like laughing at the notion that people said that they played well enough to win because they didn't win, and the defense could have made the game 3-0. So that's the defensive standard that they hold themselves to.
Yeah, should.
The sentiment that I got today, Tim, a very confident defensive bunch, ready to take on this Tennessee challenge. They know the up-tempo nature of this Tennessee offense, and it should be pretty fun for them out there on Saturday night.
Yeah, I mean, and here's the thing. Jim Knowles is just speaking from reality. The reality is they're the number one defense in the country, total defense, number one in scoring defense. But in the fourth quarter against Michigan, they gave up 2 sustained drives, one of which was thwarted by one of the more incredible plays I've ever seen at Ohio State, and I've been doing this for a long time, the Jack Sawyer interception, which, he came out of the end zone or off the goal line and gave Ohio State another opportunity. But then the other was the drive to the winning field goal.
Yeah.
And, I know I've said this before when we've talked, but Bobby Bowden used to have a great line at halftime. Every time his team was leading, whether it be by 1 point or 20 points, his line was, they don't score. He would say this to his defense, they don't score in the second half, we win.
Yeah.
So, that's what Jim Knowles is talking about. They couldn't get off the field a couple of times in that fourth quarter, and finally it led to that touchdown. Of course, the field goal, but also, they had looked like they had a stop. And the Mullings kids squirted right out of there for a 27-yard run, one of the big plays for Michigan in the history of the game, and put them in position to win that game. So all these things, that said, this defense is playing at a very high level.
Yes.
And Jim Knowles seemed, I'm never going to say Jim Knowles is giddy, but he seemed eager and excited to take on this challenge of Tennessee, and it's basically up-tempo offense, which we've, driven that question right into the ground the last couple of days and probably do it again tomorrow. But that does set Tennessee apart from the fact that also it has really good players, including Sampson at running back. I am Alieva. You know what? I always know how to say that, but then it doesn't come out of my mouth. I am Alieva at quarterback is a freshman they've given more and more responsibility to, it looks like, as the game has gone on. We'll see how much more they trust him even now than they did maybe at the end of the year. And of course, we know how good Tennessee's defense is, pretty much right behind Ohio State in a lot of statistical categories. But, yeah, he seemed, for one of another term, he seemed excited to get to this game. Yeah, number one, it's a playoff game. Number two, he thinks his defense is playing pretty well.
Yeah, it's a good challenge for this team. And obviously – that's all you're going to get the rest of the way, because if you beat this team, you got to play Oregon, which is the ultimate challenge for this defense, because that was their worst game of the year.
We've seen that movie.
I thought it was interesting that he talked about how this defense is built to play tempo, and not in a sense of like the way that the guys are built in their stature, but the way that they signal plays in. He said it's rapid. He also said that they are the fastest signaling defense in the country.
Or strive to be, yeah.
Yeah, that didn't show up against Oregon because the defensive line and the linebackers with the secondary were getting different calls. So nobody was set against Oregon. Once they revamped it, it looks like they can handle tempo pretty well. This, though, is the ultimate tempo test. Tennessee does tempo almost in the vein of like the old Chip Kelly teams at Oregon, where if you're not ready in 13 to 20 seconds, that ball is going to be snapped, and it might be going over to your head, because if they see a chance where you're not set in
Aligned
your defense
properly.
or aligned properly,
Yeah.
they'll just take a shot. And if it's a wasted play, it's a wasted play. But if they get a touchdown off of it, they get a touchdown.
Yeah.
That's the way Tennessee operates. Knowles seemed pretty okay with the idea of playing against tempo, and these players kind of reciprocated that too, which I thought was interesting. They all think that they're well suited for it. It's one thing to be well suited for it, it's another thing to go execute it. It's going to be interesting to watch how they deal with that tempo.
Yeah, and the other thing Ohio State's defense has going for it, and I think most people know this, you got three, I call them three really good safeties, including Jordan Hancock in that definition.
Maybe the most important player on this defense.
Yeah, but what I like about all three of these safeties is they are not reluctant to come up and run fit.
Yeah.
And I think this is a little bit of a, maybe the key to the game on Saturday night is, Sampson is a very good patient running back who bides his time and then pops. We've seen Caleb Downs. I like how Caleb Downs says, he's made the plays that have come to him. A lot of times he's gone to the play and made the play that didn't come to him. You've seen Lathan Ransom do the same thing, Jordan Hancock the same thing. So that's going to be an interesting dynamic is to watch the way Ohio State's safeties react to what's happening in front of them in an up-tempo offense. With that said, the way you really beat an up-tempo offense is limit them to 3 plays and make them punt, because you may have run 3 plays up tempo. We've seen that, that'll be a problem for Ohio State's offense on occasion through the last many years of you go out there, you get a first down immediately, you're up to the line, but then you almost end up wasting a play because it didn't pop the way you thought it would, et cetera. So I think Ohio State's defense, like Jim Knowles alluded, is sort of built for this, not just from a physical standpoint, but from a mental standpoint, psychological standpoint. And so we'll see how that carries through on Saturday night because Tennessee, like Caleb Downs and others alluded, they do this for a living. They run this up. They're not your scout team doing this one week and running Michigan's offense the next. They do this for a living, so they're really expert at running this up tempo. But like I said, man, 3 and out really takes it up tempo off the vine.
Yeah, I mean, you saw that in the Tennessee-Georgia game where Tennessee started 10-0, and then the offense started hitting a rut, going 3 and out, and Georgia was able to capitalize on that by just piling points.
But Georgia adjusted quickly. You saw it also in the Arkansas game. I mean, Arkansas, pretty much shut down Georgia's offense in the second half.
Yeah.
No, I'm talking, Tennessee's offense in the second half. You're exactly right. Thanks for the correction.
Sure.
But yeah, that's why I asked Knowles specifically about whether you paid a little more extra attention, and you do. It's human nature. Pay attention to the defenses that have gone against that and had success to it after they adjusted. Tennessee's kind of built on a little bit of a shock and awe too, man. Hope to get you on your heels and keep you there.
Yeah.
So the key is not to be on your heels. I would expect to see a lot of deep safety play about deployment by Ohio State, for example, on Saturday night, just because even if they get out the gate, you can't let them, go all the way to the next pasture.
Yeah, you got to trust your linebackers in run stopping. And
yes.
Let your safeties play free.
Like Caleb Downs said, you front 7, you do your job, and we'll do our job, so to speak.
Coverage and rush working together, but against the run as well. That's always important. Tennessee really RPO heavy. If you're built different, you want to sit in 20-degree weather. If you're willing to be cold on Saturday, like Ohio State is, like Tennessee apparently is, we'll see if they're about that life. Go to gametime.co. They can use the Game Time app. The Game Time Picks features make it easy to find the best tickets. There's a lot of tickets available because those secondary ticket brokers got a hold of a lot of them with that the season ticket holder code that was sent out. And so now they're all in the secondary market. They flooded the secondary market. Prices have plummeted because the secondary people aren't getting the prices they thought they would for this game. So if you're looking for a last-minute Christmas gift, go to gametime.co, use the Game Time app, use the code ON3, ON3, get $20 off your first purchase in the Game Time app or at gametime.co, and come watch Ohio State, Tennessee. I think it's pretty simple, Tim. First ever college football playoff game in the Horseshoe.
Yep.
At night, you've been begging for a night game. If you're willing to be cold, you'll show up.
It's going to feel like Christmas Eve out there, ladies and gentlemen.
It certainly will. You got your Christmas shopping done?
No, absolutely not.
Well, go to the Game Time app, gametime.co, Tim. Get your wife tickets to see Cats in the theater. Or, you can go to the Ohio State playoff game and take that media badge, throw it to the side, go sit in C-Deck, freeze your tail off.
Okay.
Come to the game. $20 off using the code ON3. Go take advantage of that right now. One of the things that I thought was interesting, Tim.
Do your tickets come with hand warmers, by the way?
Not yet.
That would be a nice bonus.
That might be like an added, everybody
feature.
Everybody gets a towel.
I'm thinking Ohio State ought to be passing them out at the gate when you walk in the door.
Everybody gets an Ohio State towel to twirl and 2 hand warmers.
Yeah.
How about that?
That would be fantastic. That would be thinking ahead.
I don't think that's the promotion, but maybe we'll toss it over to the marketing department and tell them that.
Yeah, but this is you're only going to be able to brag you were in Ohio Stadium for the first ever college football playoff game once.
You know what's always funny, Tim, though? When there's a classic, it starts out like, I was there. I was one of the 105,000 people there.
Like the Snow Bowl.
In 30 years, 400,000 people say they were there.
Depending on the like the Snow Bowl in 1950 in Ohio Stadium, there were millions more who claimed they were there as opposed to the brave souls who sat out in a blizzard and watched about 150 punts.
Yeah, that's right. You're absolutely right, partner. I thought it was interesting, Tim, that yesterday when the offense talked, there was a lot of questions about the cold weather. And you just assume that the defense is all about that life. And so we didn't ask any cold weather questions. It's not going to be a factor for the Buckeyes. They've been practicing outside every day. I think they're going to practice outside again today.
I think it's supposed to be 50 today, too, though.
Yeah, but, it's going to keep dropping as the week goes on.
Right.
By Saturday, it's going to be 20 degrees. And that leads me to the final talking point of this is Dylan Sampson, the running back in Tennessee. The running game normally travels, and defense normally travels.
Yeah.
So Tennessee's going to bring its good defense up here, which we're not going to talk about that. We're going to talk about Dylan Sampson. He is a powerful back. They talked about today his patience and the ability to run his feet, but also, find a crease, a few seconds later than most running backs can. I think it's very unique in the way that he approaches the line of scrimmage and his running ability. I think Ohio State certainly understands the challenges that the SEC Offensive Player of the Year presents on Saturday night. He's a very good back. These linebackers, this defensive line, are going to be really good against him.
Yeah, watching him on video, what stands out to me too is the Ohio State defensive players were talking about his patience and then his burst.
Yeah.
Once he sees a hole, but but watching him too, the great backs have the ability to put you in a position of arm tackling as opposed to full frontal, form tackling. And he has a really good knack for that. And part of that is because of the way Tennessee's offense does spread the field and makes you kind of chase. Like, you heard Sonny Styles talking about having to come back inside. If you're kind of spread a little bit more than you want to be, you've got to cheat a little bit this way so you can cheat back that way to handle Sampson and whatever. And I am Aliava. And his scrambling. I don't know why I can't. I literally am usually pretty good about names, but I just can't get to that one.
You better get it right.
I got Tui Moloau about as quick as you can get it.
You better get it right before that pregame show.
Yeah, exactly. I'll just say their quarterback, their freshman quarterback. But the bottom line is they do a really good job of making you, in essence, kind of tackle them from the side, for want of another term, instead of really catching them head on in the crease, in the hole. So that'll be an interesting thing to watch on Saturday because we know Caleb Johnson didn't do anything against Ohio State when it mattered.
Yeah.
And he was an extremely talented running back from Iowa. We've seen Ohio State in the past have pretty good, actually really good success against some really good running backs. We'll see if they can handle that on Saturday night as I move a little bit away from the Typhoid Mary over here. Yeah. We'll see if they can handle that on Saturday night against basically the all-SEC, the SEC Offensive Player of the Year.
Tim, I'm not kidding. I've been doing this since 2019. I think it's the first time I've ever sneezed on camera, and I did it 4 times.
That's because, you probably caught some cat hair from the fact that we have 3 cats at home.
I've only got 1, but he's a good guy. That's Tim May, the 41-year vet. We're going to get out of here before this thing gets too far off the rails. He's already scooted away from me. He's done with me.
And let me add one other thought, though.
Make it quick.
I think it's really interesting the way this defense we've watched it develop over 3 seasons under Jim Knowles. I think Jim Knowles has done a hell of a job. Mm-hmm. It's the competence, for the most part, with which they play, which has been on view now many times this season, is interesting compared to 3 years ago when he was learning the ropes, when they were learning his ropes, et cetera. Now they put a hybrid of what he brought with him from Oklahoma State. It's a hybrid defense compared to that. And I think he, I don't know how many more times we're going to get to do this, so I think he deserves his just due on basically elevating Ohio State's defense to the number one total defense in the country, number one against the score, the two ways you measure defense more than anything else. And I think he would like to get that complete game on Saturday night where you, in essence, do that for 4 quarters. You know, you're not going to totally shut down an offense like Tennessee's, but this presents an interesting challenge. And of course, if they get past Tennessee, we already know the challenge is coming. Oh, yeah. So, you know, kudos to Jim Knowles.
Kudos to Jim Knowles. Kudos to Tim May for sticking with it there for the last few minutes after my sneezy, you know what, decided to go off. That's Tim May, the 41-year vet. I'm just Spencer Holbrook. We're going to get over to the Horseshoe on Saturday for Ohio State, Tennessee in the first round of the college football playoff.
Gesundheit.
Oh, thank you. We're very, very excited for that matchup. So is Ohio State. We'll be there every step of the way. Starting tonight, when Ohio State gives us a little insight into practice, a little peek behind the curtain, we're going to watch a little bit of Buckeyes practice and be back to talk about that. Wednesday, we'll be talking to Ryan Day again in the lead up to Ohio State, Tennessee. Thursday and Friday, we'll have full coverage of the Buckeyes with Lettermen Live presented by Wendy's. We'll have our bold prediction show with Mick Walker and Tim May. A lot coming, and then there's also transfer portal stuff. We're breaking news every single day. Go get that coverage over at lettermenrow.com. That's the 41-year vet, Tim May. I'm just Spencer Holbrook. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We'll see you guys back in here later today to watch a little bit of Buckeyes practice, and we'll see you guys on Saturday over in the Horseshoe for Ohio State, Tennessee in the college football playoff.